The sun is a radioactive husk hanging in the sky like a bad tooth. The earth is cracked and barren. Water is scarce. The air is toxic and the cities are crumbling skeletons picked over by scavengers. Humanity is all but extinct. But in this wasteland of twisted metal and concrete, life finds a way. And some familiar faces might just help pave the way for a new order. Bugs Bunny in particular finds himself perfectly adapted to this brave new world. After all, it's not that much different from the barrens he used to call home. When we meet him, he has taken to wearing goggles over his trademark red shorts and is armed with an old hunting rifle. He's still got his cool factor, too. At one point, he even pulls out a carrot from his pocket to eat as he stands on the hood of a car, surveying the wasteland around him. It's clear that Bugs has already made a name for himself in this world. Even the vultures circling overhead seem to know who he is, squawking his name before swooping down to try and steal his carrot. He's become something of a folk hero, hopping from town to town, ridding them of dangerous predators, and helping people along the way. A young girl asks him if he really is the Bugs Bunny that everyone's been talking about. And when he confirms that he is, she looks at him with wide eyes and says, "You're my hero." This makes him blush. It's clear that he doesn't do it for the attention, though he simply wants to help others because it's the right thing to do. One day, he meets up with a group of survivors, including a woman named Tina Russo, a former hairdresser, who is now sporting a stylish mohawk. She was once married to a man named Tony, but he left her after she shot and killed two of his friends. This was an act of self-defense, but Tony didn't see it that way. Since then, she's been on the run from Tony and his gang of marauders. Bugs takes pity on her and promises to help her, but she warns him that Tony is no joke. He's vicious and will stop at nothing to get what he wants. Bugs, however, isn't afraid. In fact, he seems downright excited at the prospect of a fight. Just wait until he sees the look on Tony's face when he realizes that the one person he never should have messed with is the one person he has always had the hots for. That being said, there are some things that Bugs can't do himself. For example, when he needs to hotwire a car, he calls on the expertise of a teenage hacker named Spike, who specializes in getting vehicles to move again. Spike is accompanied by his pet dog, Brain, who plays the part of the lovable sidekick. Together, the three of them set off into the wasteland in search of adventure. Their first stop is an abandoned gas station where they plan to make camp for the night. Soon enough though, they hear the sound of approaching motorcycles, and they hide in the back of the store so the newcomers won't find them. These strangers aren't like other survivors, though they're organized, disciplined, and well-armed. They even have functioning lights and radios on their bikes. Soon, the leader of the pack strides confidently into the store. His name is Keela, but everyone calls him Killer. He's a big brute of a man with a shaved head and a goatee. And when he smiles, you can see that he has a gold tooth. That's because he has a sweet tooth. But there aren't many sweets to be found in this wasteland. So instead, he indulges in a protein shake, made from the powdered remains of roadkill animals. That's pretty gross, but it's not enough to put Bugs off his food. Instead, he tells Killer about a stash of protein bars he found in a nearby warehouse. Killer is grateful for this tip, but he's suspicious of Bugs' motives. He thinks that Bugs might be leading him into a trap, but Killer is too hungry to resist the temptation of a protein bar. Plus, he knows that his men would never let him live it down if he passed up a chance to get some, so he decides to take the bait. Meanwhile, back at the cabin, Spike is having second thoughts about helping Bugs. He keeps looking over his shoulder as if expecting someone to jump out and attack him. And it turns out his instincts were right. As soon as the coast is clear, he runs out of the store and hides in the bushes outside. Brain follows after him, whining softly. Spike tells Brain that he doesn't want any trouble, and that he'd rather stay away from the likes of Bugs and Killer. But Brain isn't convinced. He knows that Spike is the brainy one of the two, but he also knows that Spike can be a bit of a coward. Brain thinks that they should stick with Bugs and help him out, but Spike refuses. He's tired of running and hiding. He wants to be free. So he bids Brain a fond farewell and disappears into the bushes. Back at the gas station, Killer and his bikers burst through the door and confront Bugs. There's a standoff for a moment, but then Killer's men open fire on Bugs. Fortunately, he manages to dodge their bullets and he returns fire with his rifle. A shootout ensues, but Bugs is outnumbered and soon finds himself on the run. He dashes through the aisles of the store, dodging bullets the whole time. He grabs some snacks to go, knowing that he'll need the extra protein if he's going to survive the ordeal. Meanwhile, Killer is furious. He thought he had Bugs surrounded, but the rabbit is proving to be elusive. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, though, Brain comes bounding through the door and distracts Killer's men long enough for Bugs to escape. The two of them flee into the night, not knowing where they'll go or what they'll do next, but as long as they have each other, they know that they can face whatever challenges come their way. In the end, this unlikely duo might just find that they have more in common than they thought. After all, they're both outsiders looking for a place to belong. And what could be better than finding a friend in the most desolate place imaginable, a wasteland full of danger and intrigue? Who knows what other adventures await them? Will they find a cure for the virus that devastated the world? Will they uncover the secrets of the past? Only time will tell. One thing's for sure, though. This wasteland is about to get a whole lot wilder with the arrival of the Looney Tunes. From the looks of it, this wasteland isn't exactly a fun place to live. There's barely anything to eat and even less water to drink. But hey, at least there's plenty of room for everyone here. Yeah, it's a little cramped in the cities that are still standing. While Coyote takes his usual approach to navigating the wasteland, hurtling through it at top speed in a souped-up car or motorcycle. Only problem is, the cars and motorcycles keep breaking down. He's got a real knack for destruction, but not much of a knack for fixing things. Daffy Duck, meanwhile, has traded his usual human-animal hybrid get-ups for full-on animal drag, complete with a tail, claws and floppy ears. The look is completed with a fur coat made from roadrunner feathers. The bird himself, as always, is just out of his reach. While tries everything to catch him, but the roadrunner always manages to escape with a cheeky beep, beep. Porky Pig has somehow ended up in charge of a small settlement. He does his best to keep order and safety, but he stutters so much that nobody can understand what he's saying. In the end, he ends up accidentally nuking the entire place while trying to cook breakfast. Elmer Fudd, much like Tony the Tiger, has taken up hunting in this post-apocalyptic world. But he's no good at it. All he ever catches are pesky little rabbits, which he then promptly lets go after muttering something about wascally wabbits. Foghorn Leghorn, meanwhile, has gone completely insane and spends his days wandering the wasteland, clucking like a chicken and chasing imaginary prey. Sam the sheep has become a ruthless killer, taking revenge on anyone who tries to harm his flock. Tweetybird has developed a nasty attitude and spends his days perched on Sam's shoulder, chirping insults at their enemies. Sylvester the cat, much like Bugs Bunny, has taken to wearing goggles over his trademark black eyes. He's still got his cool factor, too. At one point, he even pulls out a can of cat food from his pocket to eat as he stands on the hood of a car surveying the wasteland around him. It's clear that Sylvester has already made a name for himself in this world. Even the vultures circling overhead seem to know who he is, squawking his name before swooping down to try and steal his cat food. He's become something of a folk hero, hopping from town to town, ridding them of dangerous predators and helping people along the way. And speaking of cats, Tom the cat has become a vicious killer, stalking his prey through the ruins of the city before pouncing and knocking them off their feet with a single swipe of his paw. Jerry the mouse, meanwhile, has shrunk down to the size of a ladybug and spends his days scurrying around Tom's house, tormenting him relentlessly.